No one misguides you about things more than your gym bros, you know. The prime example is them telling you all the lies about creatine. One guy will swear that it gave him 10 pounds of muscle in 2 weeks. Another guy will say it destroys your kidneys and turns you into a balloon full of water. And then there's always that one friend who refuses to take it because he thinks it's basically a steroid. So what's actually going on here? Is creatine a miracle powder or just the most misunderstood white powder in the gym? Well, I took creatine every day for 365 days, read the studies, went through the research, and looked at what the science actually says. So today, I'm going to tell you everything about creatine. The truth, of course. What does creatine do? First things first, creatine is not some alien chemical made in a shady lab. Your body literally makes it every day, roughly 1 to 2 grams daily, using amino acids from normal food. And about 95% of it lives inside your muscles. Now imagine your muscles like a phone battery. When you lift something heavy, sprint, or try to finish that last painful rep, your muscles burn through their instant energy molecule called ATP. But the annoying thing is that ATP runs out in seconds. This is where creatine comes in, like a tiny energy power bank. Inside muscle cells, creatine turns into something called phosphocreatine. Think of it like a spare battery sitting next to the main one. When ATP runs out, phosphocreatine jumps in and quickly helps recharge it. So instead of your muscles dying after a few seconds of effort, they can keep producing power a little longer. And that small boost actually matters a lot. Studies show increasing muscle creatine stores can improve short, explosive performance 5 to 10%. That doesn't sound huge, but in the gym, that could mean one extra rep, slightly heavier weight, or one more set before fatigue kicks in. And those tiny improvements repeated over weeks are how people actually build strength. But that's not all. Creatine also pulls water into muscle cells, not under your skin, right inside the muscle. This is just like watering a plant. When the cells hold more water, they become fuller and function better. That's why many people gain 1 to 2 kilograms during their first week. It's mostly water stored in muscle tissue, not fat. And no, creatine is not a miracle powder. If you sit on the couch and take creatine, the only thing wrong is going to be your disappointment. Creatine works best for people doing high-intensity training, like lifting weights, sprinting, jumping, and sports where muscles need fast bursts of power. So this is where fake gym gurus become big fat liars. The real job of creatine is not building muscle directly. It never does that. It simply helps your muscles produce energy faster so you can train harder without your body saying, "All right, buddy, we're done here." How much do you need? Now that we know what creatine actually does, let's talk about how much you should take. The good news is that the answer is extremely boring. 3 to 5 grams per day. That's it. Your muscles don't need scoops the size of a protein shake. Just a small teaspoon of creatine powder daily is enough to fill your muscle stores. Now, some people do what's called a loading phase. That means taking around 20 grams per day for about 5 to 7 days, usually split into 4 smaller doses. This fills up your muscles with creatine faster. It's just like filling a swimming pool. Loading is like turning on 4 water hoses at once. The pool fills quickly. Taking 3 to 5 grams daily is like filling the pool with 1 hose. It takes longer, usually about 3 to 4 weeks, but the pool still ends up full. So loading is not necessary, it's just faster. Are there any drawbacks to this method? I'll tell you in a bit. First, let's talk about timing, because the internet loves arguing about this like it's the Olympics. Should you take creatine before a workout, after a workout, during a full moon? The honest answer is, it barely matters. Some studies suggest post-workout might be slightly better, but the difference is tiny. The important thing here is taking it consistently every day. The best thing you can do is take creatine with food, especially carbs or protein. It's because this simple trick improves absorption a little. But again, we're talking about small improvements, not magic tricks. So the simple rule is this: take 3 to 5 grams per day. Take it with a meal if you want, and stop overthinking it. Creatine works through muscle saturation, not perfect timing. Your muscles don't care about your watch. Myths versus facts. Now, if you're still here and listening to me right now, this next part might clear up a lot of the nonsense you've heard about creatine. Honestly, creatine might be the most misunderstood supplement in the entire gym, and most of the myths come from a very reliable scientific pipeline. One guy heard it from another guy, who heard it from his cousin, who heard it from a dude in a locker room sometime around 1997. So let's start with the biggest myth of them all, that creatine destroys your kidneys. This one scares people immediately. Say the word kidney, and everyone suddenly imagines hospital machines and doctors shaking their heads. But what actually happens is that creatine naturally breaks down into a compound called creatinine. Doctors measure creatinine in blood tests to check kidney function. So when someone takes creatine, their blood creatinine levels can rise slightly. And suddenly, people panic like their organs are packing their bags. But that increase doesn't mean the kidneys are damaged. It simply means there's more creatine being processed in the body. Large reviews of scientific studies have found no evidence of kidney damage in healthy people using normal creatine doses. So, unless someone already has kidney disease or serious medical issues, creatine is quite safe. The next myth is that creatine makes you bloated. Not really. Creatine pulls water inside muscle cells, not under the skin. Think of it like watering a sponge instead of filling a water balloon. The sponge gets fuller and stronger. It doesn't suddenly turn into a puddle. That's why muscles often look fuller and more defined, not puffy. Now let's address the steroid myth, which is honestly one of the funniest ones. Most people believe that creatine is a steroid, but it's really not. Steroids affect hormone levels like testosterone. Creatine simply helps your muscles recycle energy faster during intense effort. Your body literally produces creatine naturally every day. Calling it a steroid is like calling coffee a narcotic because it wakes you up. Another myth people love repeating is that creatine causes dehydration and cramps. Funnily enough, research often shows the opposite. Because creatine increases water inside muscle cells, it can actually improve cellular hydration. Some athletes even report better endurance during repeated high-intensity efforts. And finally, there's the cycling myth. Some people say you should take creatine for a few months and then stop, but there's no strong scientific reason to cycle creatine. Long-term studies have not found harmful effects in healthy individuals using normal doses. So what does creatine actually do? The benefits are simple and amazing. Creatine helps you maintain strength across repeated sets, recover faster between efforts, and train with slightly more power. Over time, that leads to better strength and muscle gains. In one large meta-analysis, people using creatine while training gained over 4 kilograms more upper body strength and over 11 kilograms more lower body strength compared to people training without it. So no, creatine's not magic. But it is one of the most reliable, well-studied performance supplements on the planet. And honestly, that's pretty damn impressive. Buyer's Guide. Alright, if you decide to buy creatine, I'd advise you to buy creatine monohydrate. Not ultra mega creatine, not turbo creatine, not quantum transport matrix creatine. Just plain and simple creatine monohydrate. It's the form used in the overwhelming majority of studies. It absorbs well, it's stable, and it's usually the cheapest option. All those fancy new versions like creatine HCl, buffered creatine, and liquid creatine are mostly marketing. They're trying to make the same ingredient sound more exciting. Look for a simple label that clearly lists creatine monohydrate and the dose per serving. Avoid blends that hide the creatine amount behind fancy proprietary names. If you're a competitive athlete, choose brands with third-party testing like the NSF Certified for Sport or Informed Sport. That helps reduce contamination risks. So yeah, that's it. You're now basically a mini expert on creatine. At least enough to not get fooled by gym bro science anymore. If you still have questions about creatine, drop them in the comments. I read them and I'll be happy to answer. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more healthy tips and tricks. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.